This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by Johnny Fisher here at the Drum in Wembley. Johnny, firstly, how is life?
Good, thank you, Andrew. Is it Andrew or Andy?
It's Andy.
Andy. I'm good, mate. How are you? All good?
I'm all good. Obviously, you returned to the ring on Saturday night. Big following as always. Johnny, just talks about your man in the opposite corner, though. What are you expecting from him?
Big Dominik Musil. He's a big old unit. He just walked in. He came in a bit late. He's a big old target to hit. That's all I was thinking when I saw him. I thought, nice big target. Got to be on my game because he's big, as I say, and he's going to be physically strong. And I've got to look for that opening. I don't think it's going to be as simple as knocking him out in the first round or the second round. It might take me the distance, who knows? But as long as I win, that's the most important thing.
Johnny, how difficult is it to match you at this stage of your career? Go back to the fight in February on that Ryder Jacobs card. It went maybe not as what you expected, but there was also a lot of hype about you going in there, knocking fighters out, and then you return in Sheffield, and then you knock out your opponent. How difficult is it to find that right balance?
It is hard to find that balance because you can look at someone's record and think, oh, they've had 11 wins, 12, 13 losses, oh, they're an easier match, but they're not. Sometimes they're the harder ones. We've had the season. You've got to look at the opposition they've faced. I've got to realise where I am in my career, who I'm ready for, who I'm not. It is hard to match that, and obviously we want to put on a show for people. If you've got 2,000 people coming to watch, you want to put on a show. So it is very difficult, but we've done a decent job of it so far, and I think Dominik Musil is a sensible one. It's going to give me something to think about, but I think we'll get the win.
You mentioned Dominik Musil giving you something to think about. What does he offer that's different to what you've challenged so far in your career?
His sturdiness, his durability. It's only been stopped a couple of times out of his 11 or 12 fights by top opposition, David Adelaide and Dempsey McKean. So, I think I can add myself to that list. But he's going to be a big old unit, and fighting someone who's big is always going to be hard work.
Johnny, when you look towards what could be next for you, look at next year, how do you anticipate it lining up for you?
It's what I was just talking about over there. I don't really know. I'd love to fight in Vegas next year, get that finally on the road. Maybe have Lovejoy in the summer here as well. But that's not an easy fight either. He's had 21 fights, 20 knockouts. So it's going to be a hard test. There's no easy paths. People think because you're fighting these level of guys, they're still tough for me to get through. So just every fight as it comes. Saturday night is the only one that matters right now.
I know Saturday night's the only one that matters for now, but you mentioned Christopher Lovejoy. He's been very vocal about fighting you recently. What have you made of his call-outs?
I think I like him. I admire him. He's a funny guy. He's great. Personalities are an important thing in boxing, and a lot of people get wound up by him. I enjoy it. I think he's quite funny. So it'd be great to have a fight. I just think the build-up to that fight would be so funny over here. If we had him in the O2, loads of people would buy into that fight as well. So let's make it happen.
Have you been able to watch much of his career so far?
No, I've just seen little bits and bobs. I saw him against Manuel Char, and he took a bit of a basting there. But I've seen him a couple of clips of him knocking out some blokes in Tijuana. So listen, he's still going to have power, and he's massive. He's like 6'5", 21, 22 stone. So I've got to be ready.
Johnny, just kind of looking at the heavyweight division, as always, a lot going on. Fury-Chisora 3 announced the other day, not the fight that everybody wanted, a negative reaction online. But your take as a fellow heavyweight?
I'm still looking forward to it because I like Derek Chisora and I like Tyson Fury. I think, obviously, I think Tyson's an outright favourite for it, but you can never write Del Boy off. He's exciting. He's going to do something interesting in the fight, so I'm just looking forward to it. I think the build-up's going to be great.
Do you understand that negative reaction from fans?
Yeah, of course, but I was talking about it. I think I would have liked to have seen Joe Joyce versus Tyson Fury, but the timing of that, Joe Joyce has just thought he probably want to fight next year. It's like a keep busy sort of fight, like a tick-over fight. Because you've got Usyk doesn't want to fight until next year. It's just like, who does he go for after that? Joshua, there was trouble trying to make that one. We want to see that as well. At the top level of heavyweight boxing, there's so much complicated legalities that go on. It's hard to make these fights, but we want to see them before it gets too late.
Obviously, you mentioned Anthony Joshua there as well. That fight fell through between him and Tyson Fury. But looking at what it could be next for him, Dillian Whyte's been mentioned for early next year alongside Otto Wallin, former opponent of Tyson Fury's. What are your thoughts on either of those?
I want to see Joshua-Whyte. I think that'd be a great fight. It's 1-1. He beat him in the amateurs. He beat him in the pros. It'd be great to see. I think it'd be a close fight. I wouldn't be able to pick a winner out of them two at the minute. I think Dillian Whyte's got a big chance in that fight.
You mentioned Joe Joyce as well. Now, I did an interview with Adam Booth a couple of days ago, and Adam said you just don't want that work with Joe. He's just, if you don't need to fight him, if you're not a mandatory, for example, you need to avoid him effectively. You've shared rounds with Joe. You know just how relentless he can be. Tyson Fury, how would Joe have fared against Tyson if they'd have been able to get a deal with him?
Joe Joyce gives Tyson Fury the hardest fight out there, and I think Tyson Fury knows it. listen, I still edge. Joe's my friend, but Tyson's the favourite going into that fight. But Joe Joyce has got a very real chance in that, especially if he's that relentless nature. He's not deterred by Tyson. Tyson's a big guy as well. He's very strong. I sparred him as well. But Joe Joyce is going to be there for 12 rounds. That's what I truly believe. If you want to beat Joe Joyce, you've got to beat him on points.
When you're looking at that elite in the heavyweight division, just listing them off my head: Fury, Usyk, Wilder, AJ, Andy Ruiz is back up there as well. Obviously Joe, of course. Out of all these names and anyone else you can think of, who do you think Joe would be unable to beat?
He's not unable to beat anyone. No one's unable to beat anyone.
Who do you think he wouldn't beat then?
Tyson Fury's the only one.
You think he'd beat Usyk, AJ?
Usyk, he'd beat AJ, he'd beat Wilder. Wilder's a risky one because we don't know how he stands up to that power, but if you wanted me to give you straight answers, Tyson's the only one I think's a little bit above at the minute.
Right, Johnny, who's talking about Joe that much there. Johnny, just before I let you go, you win on Saturday. Everybody wants to know your celebration routine. What are you getting up to?
Special fried rice, egg fried rice, plain chow mein, chicken chow mein, sweet and sour chicken Hong Kong style, sweet and sour pork Hong Kong style, beef and chow mein, beef and black bean sauce, beef and oyster sauce, pancake roll, bash.
Johnny, when you go to sleep, do you like just recite this when you're talking?
To the big man over there, it just goes in your brain. He does it a lot better than me, but it's just ingrained in my memory now.
Johnny, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bash.